Okay, so I think we're recording and I think we're live, and we're here tonight with Stony Evans, and we're here with Margie and Steve, who are in emerging literacies, and also Steve's in my school library leadership management and evaluation course, and others might be jumping in. But I invited Stony here for a number of reasons. One, he's been very kind about his time, and and two, well, most importantly, I admire him. He's been doing really innovative work as a librarian, high school librarian in Arkansas, and he's been doing things that I've never really thought of before in terms of his practice. If you were in 575, you may have seen a video of him really enlivening a Depression era novel, which I'm hoping he'll talk to us about. And if you were in 575, you may have seen some of his orientation ideas. So, Stony, these are two students in two different classes, and I was just hoping we can chat informally about some of the things you're up to, what you see coming down the road, and what your days look like as a school librarian.
Oh, sure. And first of all, I'm very grateful to be here and glad to meet you, Margie, and Steve. Hopefully, you're able to hear us, Steve. And so, what does a day look like for me? I had a I had a librarian friend tell me that being a school librarian, probably being any type of librarian, but especially I think a public school librarian, it's kind of like being an air traffic controller. You just really have to be ready for whatever the day may bring, and no 2 days are alike. Today, just for example, and I need to thank you publicly, Joyce, because of your recent trip to Hong Kong. We've connected with many librarians from a couple from Beijing, a couple from Japan, if I remember correctly, but one stood out to me as Kristen, and we jumped at the opportunity to collaborate with her. So we connected her with one of my geography teachers that I work with. And our kids today, for 6 periods of the day, the library was full of students, ninth grade geography students, creating content where they are going to teach geography, North American geography, to year 6 students, which I believe would be fifth graders in Beijing at a school that Kristen had come to that conference in Hong Kong. So that's what I'm doing. I'm helping kids get set up with green screens, and we're helping them figure out how to, record audio over Google Slides or whatever format, that they're wanting to do to teach these students. So that's what happened today. A couple of weeks ago, we were helping, senior AP Lit students find print materials for literacy criticism or literature criticism. So, you just go with the flow, and I think the main thing is just meet the students and the teachers where they are and serve them to the best of your ability. So we just try what I think the library should be. It should have something for everyone. And when I think of the book that you were talking about, The Out of the Dust by uh, Karen Hesse, yeah. We bring the entire 8th grade into the library, and we use all of the various resources that we have, because when you think about it, we have so much technology and big space, but compared to a classroom, we can pile 60 students in the library, set up different learning stations, have music and art from the era. We can have activities. Sometimes we can have food. There's Steve. Hey, Steve. Um, and give them an experience that they will never forget. And that's what I enjoy doing, and just thinking out of the box and trying to remain relevant. And I've probably said a whole lot of things in a real short amount of time. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of what a day's like in the library at Lakeside High School.
I just want to amplify one thing that you said. You said something about it being an experience I'll never forget. And I wanted to, I don't know if I ever shared this with you, um, with my seniors, and you can do this with whoever's leaving you. I would give each senior an index card and ask him or her to write for me the stickiest learning experience they had at the high school. And I put all the cards on the outside display case. And what was really exciting was that they would remember the experiences that you talked about. So for us, the equivalent would be the immigration experience, where we had a simulation about Ellis Island and we pretended to be Ellis Island officials, and we turned people away and they dressed up, they were crying, we split families apart. Um, they also remembered our trip to the Folger Shakespeare Museum. They also remembered book club, and they also remembered author visits. And you know the thing. And not a single student said, I really loved learning how to solve for X or balancing a chemical equation, although I'm sure that was valuable learning. It wasn't the kind of sticky learning you're describing. So that video, if you haven't seen Stony's video on Out of the Dust, he and his colleague, is your colleague an English teacher?
Well, Caitlin, of course, I
Another
work with
gentleman.
Caitlin, and so there's two certified teacher librarians there at the high school where I'm working. But we brought in, of course, the two eighth grade English teachers, and of course they played along with it, and they're brainstorming and helping us, build this thing. And then we have two assistants that are always a part of it as well. So we've got Ray, and Ray was the one that was really that enjoyed playing the part, and he was really loud in that video. You probably remember him coming in. It was almost like a little, well, it was a skit, to try to get the kids' attention. And then we have another aide assistant as well, and she's really good at building things. Like when we did Unbroken with that grade just back in the fall, she built out of cardboard a replica of a radio from that period.
I thought you were
And,
going to say a raft.
no, well, we had a raft too, and she found a raft, and we spray painted it yellow so it looked as close as we could get to the real thing. And we had kids where they could sit in there three at a time, and we had little blow up sharks that we sit around it. But I would sit there with him, and I would try to take him to that place. Imagine if you were in a raft for all these number of days. How many hours would it take, or how many days would it take for you to give up hope? And the kids really put themselves in that place, so it was super powerful. So it takes a lot, and that's the power of collaboration, I think. When you bring that many people together with a goal of doing something special for students and making it real, and the library is the place where that can happen. Great things happen for kids and when we work together. And I want the kids going home and saying, today in the school library, we experienced Out of the Dust, we experienced the Depression, or we experienced what Louis Zamperini, a taste of what he went through on that raft, and we saw a mock-up of a plane. Just anything is possible. I want them going home and saying, oh, we connected with Japan or Beijing via video. Those are the kinds of things that I want them hearing, not only with their parents, because it's important that we transform what parents think about the library, and shatter those stereotypes, that are so prevalent out there. But also, I want them saying those things, to their other teachers, so that our other teachers will feel pressured maybe to bring their students in to do these things, or they'll just want to try something different, because teachers, it's easy to get stagnant if you stay in the classroom by yourself.
Absolutely.
For the two experiences you mentioned, for Unbroken and Out of the Dust, were those full classes and they had read the book and this was sort of supplemental?
Yes,
things we're offering?
And we've done it many different ways. We've done it as a culminating activity for those classes, and we're talking approximately 300 students per grade at our school. So we will do it as a culminating activity at the end, just to let them experience it after finishing the book. But then we've also done it like Great Gatsby. We've done it as an introduction to the period, and an introduction, because it's hard for students to visualize the 1920s or the 1930s, and that has really helped, I think, help them understand the historical period as they start a book. So it works both ways, and I like it as an introduction myself when we've done it that way. And we've had students lead. We've had senior students present Great Gatsby, teaching different learning stations to the students. Like last year, we have a gaming room in the library, and the kids did all this. They covered the windows, and they made it a speakeasy. And we actually had one of our school resource officer came and broke it up and actually like acted like he was arresting a kid, and we got to pick which kid got arrested. It was a lot of fun. But then there was another station, and these stations are anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes each, depending on what the teachers feel that they need. And we may have anywhere from 4 students per station to 10 students per station, and we just rotate those out. But another one, the high school. This was seniors leading juniors, showing them how to do the Charleston. So they got to kind of see what that was all about. And a lot of the kids that led these stations dressed, like the 1920s, and it was really a lot of fun. But yes, it was full class, full grade experiences, and we love to do it that way. And our principal will sometimes purchase food. We are outsourced by a company called Chartwells, and their managers have been really good to read a lot of these books, and they will pick menu items, and of course we'll share that with our principal, and he will purchase small samples of food, everything from, I remember one year for Out of the Dust we had buttermilk. The kids hated that, but they got a taste of it, and they knew that we wanted them to experience that. So we've even brought food into the equation. And I'm just very grateful to work with administrators that allow it. Yeah.
Stony, one thing you I think is kind of not, you didn't mention it, but it's really part of your practice. You blog about everything you do, and your practice is really transparent. You take photographs all the time. There's evidence of what you do. So when this stuff is over, it doesn't disappear. People continue to learn from it, and it's also evidence of your impact. So I just wanted to emphasize that. How do you keep up with taking all those photographs and really recording what you do?
Well, I have this with me all the time. And if it's okay tonight, I would love to take a picture of this, because I want my administrators to see, even when I'm doing after hours, sometimes if it's, if it applies to my practice, I want them to see that. So I'm constantly going around taking pictures, but then also Caitlin is in the library taking pictures. Ray is in the library taking pictures. And if one of them gets a great picture, we share it with each other, or I share my pictures with them. It's just become a daily part of what we do.
I also assigned the students to be like advanced photographers, so that, and they had the password for my Flickr page, and Flickr is not very popular right now. It's been my place for storage of images. And
Right.
and I could put little albums together and go back and get stuff for annual reports and for sharing. But it's I'm sorry. While we're speaking, the international librarians are actually deciding on a hashtag for the international chat. They came up with a new one, and it is going to be, for us in the States, it'll be February 28th. For people in China and Asia, it'll be March 1st, and it's going to be called a slow Twitter chat. And it is now INTL chat, to kind of reference TL chat and to make it really easy to just add the IN before it. And so we're going to try to push that out in the next week or so. And anybody can be part of that inaugural international chat. Danny Glasner is getting crazy. Like, it's funny. This is going on Facebook. This planning committee is going crazy. But anyway, I just wanted you to know that's happening. And so evidence is really important, and the kids can participate in collecting it.
Absolutely. And, I realize now that administrators are so busy, and a lot of times they just get snapshots of what we do when they walk through. And I hate it when they come in and we have a pile of books and we're working on, I always feel the need to explain to them what I'm doing, because I don't want them to think that we're just sitting there with our feet kicked up on the desk. I want them to know. So I've always been very transparent about what we're doing. And I think that's helped, transform their perception. But then the blog, I started writing it really for my administrators, because I knew they were on my Facebook page. And if they couldn't catch something, I knew that they might be likely to open up a blog and at least look at, they may not read everything, but at least they could see pictures and things that we were doing. And it ended up being a lot more than that. And it's helped connect me with lots of great, teacher librarians around the country and world. So if you're not a writer, consider doing a video blog, a vlog, or have students do that. I suppose that would be a appropriate thing for your students that enjoy, making videos or writing, to let them be your voice for the library.
Great. I want my students to really take over this conversation. So, Steve and Morgie, ask, while we have Stony here, exploit him. Ask him lots of stuff. Because he and I can talk forever.
Yeah, oh yeah, I can for sure.
Any ideas about how to get kids reading? I'm also in a high school. I still feel new and about this whole thing. And they're busy. And now that I'm back taking classes too, I get it. It's difficult to find time to read, but anything that you've done that you feel has been more successful?
Well, a couple of things. We genreified our fiction section last year, and Caitlin, that I work with, asked if she could do that, and she told me what her plan was, and I was totally behind it 100%. I wanted to have, a setup where our students could find the things that they were interested in. So let her do that, and our circulation, it took several months. They started in January, and finished up in May. She bought some beautiful signs. Everything's color coded, and the kids have really responded to that well. So now when we invite classes to come in, we make sure that we are really marketing the genreification of the fiction section. The other thing that we've done this year that has really helped, we, during like teachers' office hours, we're over technology in the building too, which makes it very complicated sometimes to do the job, because we're trying to run the library, we're trying to have these collaborations, but then we're also trying to be their guide and their tech help for educational technology. So we'll go in and check on them, and generally we get these great conversations going with them, because teachers don't get to visit with other teachers very often. So as we're doing that, we've been able to either show them some of the new materials we have, especially with the ELA teachers, but then also we started doing book tasting. I think you can't wait in the library for teachers to come to you. So we've decided that we go to them, and we cater. So we loaded up books on a cart, and we dressed up like a chef and a waitress, and we go to their classrooms and we set up tables or whatever the teacher wants. We would do it in the library if they wanted us to do that. But we didn't know how the 10th grade students would respond to it this fall, but we make a big production out of it. We go out of the library, and I'm holding a platter, and on my phone I find a sizzle sound on YouTube, so it sounds like we're coming down the hall, and kids are seeing what we're doing in between classes and other teachers. And after we did that, we had with one class, we ended up having two more classes that wanted us to come and cater our book tasting to them. So I think just try to connect and make it look cool, for our students. And that's something we're still working on. We have not arrived. It's definitely, a journey.
I have a surprise for you, Stony.
Uh-oh. Is it Kristen? Is Kristen seriously here?
See, I know Steve had a question, and he can ask it of Kristen too, who's a librarian in China. She's new. I think she might be new to Zoom.
Hi, Kristen.
Well, let's have Steve ask his question while Kristen's getting stuff together. Steve, you might be muted. Check for the microphone. It's probably if you hover along the bottom left. And Kenneth is here. Kenneth, did I meet you? Anyway, Steve, go ahead. I still think you may not have you're unmuted. Try without the headset and unplug. Unless you're afraid of waking somebody up. Oh no. All right, I'll tell you what, Steve, there's a chat. If you hover over the middle towards the right, there's a little chat box. If it's not yet open, you can type your question in. I'm not sure why you're not able to talk. Kristen, do you see where your mic is?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm so happy to see you.
Hi.
Come
Nice to
on.
see you. Hi, Stony.
Hey.
Nice to see you both.
Yeah.
Who else is here?
These are two of my students, and I think one of the things we wanted to show them was how easy it is to connect with other people wherever they are. So Stoney's in Arkansas, Kristen's in Beijing.
Yes.
I don't know where Kenneth is, but he's here in the room somewhere. And Steve's in New Jersey,
Hi, Steve.
and Margie is in Vermont.
Marky, hi.
Margie,
Hi.
yeah.
How exciting.
And I'm not sure which Kenneth this is. I'm not sure which Kenneth this is. So Steve had a question, and he was wondering about any photo clearance issues with taking pics and blogging and vlogging. I have a response to that, but why don't you go first, Tony? Stony.
Okay. Okay. That's okay. So when I first started at Lakeside High School 8 years ago, they did not want us doing anything with social media. You know, they frowned upon it, and I didn't really use it a lot for any school, library, anything except personal use. And then about 6 years ago, they realized it wasn't going away. They realized that's where all the parents were, so they really encouraged us to start, using social media. And that's when I went all out and started using Facebook. But here's what I have to look out for. I always try to ask the students permission. If it's something that I want to use on the blog, I'll tell them when I'm taking pictures, and I tell them that I'm going to share it on social media, and it may be viewed hundreds or thousands of times. Most students like that. They're like, oh, that's cool. And also in our high school office, we have an agreement, and at the first of the year, if parents or guardians do not want their child's photo taken, they have to indicate that on a form, and then we're notified who those students and get their pictures. I'll try to know who those students are and never post those pictures. Or what we will do is we'll distort their faces where you can't identify who they are if we happen to capture them. But that's a really good question, and something that we really take seriously. We try to make sure that we honor those parent and guardian requests. But our school went from being very restrictive to being very open about it, and it's been a wonderful thing. Even on the local level, our parents have said that social media is like a window into the school, and I really love that comparison, because I think it is.
Stony, that's I wanted to amplify that as well. You're seeing a lot more opt-out policies than signing of acceptable use policies as there's the acceptable use policy, but the opt-in is a lot harder to manage. And if you phrase your opt-out policy as we did, we worded it very carefully. We're going to have loads of exciting opportunities for your students this school year. Do you want them to participate in learning with students around the world or not? And then we do respect it when I had a notebook, a small notebook of students whose faces we were not allowed to show. And this could be really important. There are really messy divorces. There are all sorts of family issues that you really need to be careful about. So we never used last names, and we usually did not identify the students. We found that the students really wanted to be identified in most cases, and the profile they had from us at school, their poetry night presentations, all that stuff, the good stuff, the IB projects, that kind of stuff, that was their balance for social media. So all the other stuff that they put up, well, some of it, as I mentioned at the talk I did in Hong Kong, some of that's going to be party pictures, but they could count on the library and our school for also preserving some of the stuff they didn't think to preserve in portfolios and on our website. So that's a great question. And I hope it comes up in our class too. We'll have to make sure people watch this. And Kristen?
In international school, especially at our school, because it's private, we have a lot of very famous people's children. And so we have quite a few. We have to consider social media very carefully because of kidnapping threats, and political figures and their children go to our schools, or famous movie stars in the Chinese Chinese world and the Chinese community. So It gets a bit trickier for us. I'm working with Stony and Keith in Arkansas, and I had to do quite a lot of maneuvering to make sure that all the children could participate, because some of them have some pretty strict rules about social media and showing their faces on the internet. So that's something else that broadens that scope even further when you look at international and private education and the wealthy the wealthy people of the world, of which I'm not.
I think it's really important to know your community, and you can see that there are different issues that we face. Stony in Arkansas has a completely different environment from where I was in pretty affluent suburban Philadelphia. And I'm sure Steve's in a different setting, and Margie is also working in a library right now and in a different setting. So how about Margie and Steve continue to ask questions while I refill my coffee mug, and I'll be listening in. Margie, Steve, any other questions? We're so lucky to have our two guests tonight.
It's super fun.
Yes.
I know Margie's moving, and
I'm moving because the TV has been turned on and it's louder where I am.
Yeah, there's a big event happening up in Vermont.
I said to Joyce earlier, I told her that The Bachelor Winter Games is premiering right now, which I wouldn't necessarily watch, but it was filmed in and around our little town. So our students are in it and our friends are in it, and it's big news up here in Manchester, Vermont.
Sure.
Can't wait to watch it.
Yeah.
So you're going to be tweeting it for us?
I should.
Okay.
It's both embarrassing and exciting. It all depends on your perspective, I guess. That was actually a big deal, whether or not we should let students out of class, and sort of the whole idea of the show and how potentially yucky it is. But we have cinematography students and students who want to pursue careers, and there's a lot of work, despite what the content might be, there's a lot of work that goes on in putting on a performance. And so I think there were a lot of good educational experiences to be had.
Well, it's great to see behind the scenes on something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
I do sort of have a question, and that is, as I mentioned, I'm new, and what I'm finding I'm getting a bit of is, hey, Margie, can you come and do your research database thing? And it's sort of expected to be like this, like a 15-minute show I put on. But I know I need to do work, so I guess I'm asking like for suggestions about what can I do to kind of change that situation.
Do your teachers, are your students one-to-one?
Yes.
Okay, so we changed everything this last year because I hated doing orientation the way that I'd always done it. I felt like a talking head that was putting kids to sleep. I hated the way that I taught databases. And I remember telling Caitlin, I said, there has got to be a better way. And when those Chromebooks came on the scene, we tried something that we had never tried before. And I said last year, really, I guess was it last January or February with 8th graders. And we created a HyperDoc. And if you've ever used a HyperDoc, you can customize it for whatever you want. And we taught the kids from that HyperDoc. So we asked to be either have the teachers share that HyperDoc on their Google Classroom, or we would ask to be co-teachers in Google Classroom so that we could post. But that's what we did. We would teach, and show the kids the practice of using whatever that database or the OPAC, whatever they needed for that research. And then we would let them practice, and we would walk around the room. So it was no longer about us just talking nonstop. We could show them something, and then bam, they could practice, and we could be there to help them. And it was the best experience that I've ever had. And we've done it time and time again. And when a class can't come to the library, we go to them, and we can present, co-present with the teachers, and again, customize as needed. Yes, I sure can. In fact, I wrote a blog about it, so I can share that blog. I'll look for that in between, and I'll post it here because it really works well.
So we're learning about HyperDocs this week in our class.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well,
I used one. Kristen, you remember I used them in Hong Kong, and
Yes, and I've been reading. I'm still going through all of the stuff we had in Hong Kong. We got from Hong Kong, and your whole document on hyperdocs. I'm still working through that. Yeah, it was very informative.
yeah, and it's not brain surgery. It's we're talking about curation this week, and it just a kind of a Google Doc on steroids, but you can make it beautiful. So Stoney's giving us a link here, and I am going to put it in our playlist for this week. But Stony, do you want to do a screen share and just kind of talk us through it, and then I'll talk a little bit about my database strategy if it helps. Would you be willing to do a screen share, Stony, or should
sure.
I can do it if you don't want to.
No, I am. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. Hopefully you can see my screen.
Not yet. It looks like it's starting. There we go. I see it now. Everybody good with that?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Oh,
So let me find, here's the hyperdoc that we used. So what we did, it may take just a second. Hopefully it's coming up for you. But after we did this, it opened up so many possibilities. Really simple. So we put the or the links in the hyperdoc, specifically, what we wanted to teach. So in this particular one, we started with the OPAC, and we would have the kids click on that and go to it. We would demonstrate, and then we would let them practice. And then after they had a few moments to let that soak in, then we would go back, hit the next one, which was Britannica School, and then let them practice with that. And we would go around the room and take questions, assist them. But it gets even better than that, because some teachers are going to hit you up and say, "Oh, I'm going to be teaching research today. Can you come to my classroom?" And you're in the middle of something, and you don't want to say no, because sometimes they forget and remember at the last minute. And so now, what I did for that teacher that asked me at the last minute, this was last year, I said, "No, I can't come to your classroom, but I can send you a hyperdoc that has everything on it." And during the prep period that I had when I was working with classes, I even did screenshot videos on just really basics reminders for those kids in his upper level class. These were sophomores and juniors. And I sent all of that to him in a YouTube playlist plus this hyperdoc. And I still was able to give them a service. It wasn't me going to the classroom, but there it was. And his kids could use it. And I told him, I said, if anybody has questions, I can follow up in a few days. So, and this is great evidence that I can share with my principal that's evaluating me. I can share this with them, and not only that, but it's modeling what a hyperdoc lesson can look like to teachers. So you're really hitting on so many different things.
And there really are. I mean, if you want to play with font and design and color and all, there's so many templates out there. And I as you're describing like a strategy I've been talking about, like making a gift for your partner teacher and saying, "Hey, here's what I made for you." But then the next step, and I'm sure you're on it, is to say, how can we work on this to make it even better for the next lesson or whatever. And then you can put the learning objectives and assessments on there as well if you want to. And then for me, because I use LibGuides a lot, I would probably grab the embed code for this. I'd use this for the lesson, then grab the embed code and store it in a LibGuide so it would be around and easy to find in the context of whatever the learning was. So if it were a Lit-Crit database lesson, I'd absolutely put it on my English or Lit-Crit LibGuide. But I might also use this separately as a hyperdoc when I was kind of going through a lesson in a linear way. So what you're saying is that this is not just, here's what we're doing as an agenda. There's a practice at each step.
Yes, absolutely. And this could look different for upper level. This was 8th grade, and this was the first one that we did. For other classes, we can customize it however is needed.
Thank you so much. for sharing this because I'm so excited because I think our class is going on a scavenger hunt this week.
Cool.
Can't keep your fingers crossed. I hope it works. And so they're going to be on the lookout for excellent hyperdocs and curations like this, so we can share examples of best practice. And
where would you store it, Joyce, if you don't have access to LibGuides? My school doesn't buy them.
I mean, not everybody needs them. I just think for me, the argument of scalability is important. I can easily embed almost every single resource that I needed students to access on a LibGuide and have it really easily reach people at home. And the other argument I give is my sister-in-law is a dentist and she buys software for her office that's made for dentists. We've been trying, you need a mouth in that software. You need a diagram of a mouth and teeth. And this actually is a very flexible piece of software that's made for librarians. So we're trying to make Wix and Weebly and Google Sites work for us, but this actually has functionality and affordances that are made for libraries. And what you can show is granular evidence. So I can show how many times every single link was clicked on in a LibGuide, and I can show how many students were reached this year who weren't reached last year. So I can actually see, and I gave teachers the password. So we were spreading LibGuides all over the school. So students were helping me build my LibGuides. Teachers were helping me build my instructional LibGuides. And it's just, I think for a whole district, it was $800.
Wow.
An encyclopedia used to cost me more than that. And what I'm doing now is I'm scaling out the reference book. So I would, as I know that you can see that what Stony's done is put Britannica School there. But what you can do in a LibGuide is I could embed that database and put the search box there instead of the link. That means without leaving that, they go in. And they also get a very attractive, Stony, don't be angry with me. This is working great.
Right.
But if you can afford the LibGuides, you can make a much more attractive product. Oh, I take that back. It's just different. And then you can search from within that space and they get familiar with the logos and the interface, the designs. They know, okay, that's the Britannica interface, and they'll follow that through. So it's just a library. It's a library. It's made for libraries.
Mm-hmm.
There's no argument. Do you need it? For sure, no, but it makes your life easy. I probably shouldn't record this, but my assistants said that LibGuides were my crack, and I was completely addicted to them.
But I'm not allowed to make choices like that for my school. I'm not the person. So if I'm not the person that makes the decision to buy LibGuides or not,
Kristen, you and I need to have a conversation about that because getting to yes is the important thing.
Yeah.
We'll work. You and I will work on this, and new things are going to happen for you. I know it. Right?
We'll see.
Or we need to talk offline on this one. I want to respect everybody's time and I know I have another class coming in fairly soon. So what other burning questions do you have for Stony? And Carrie's here. Carrie, do I know you, Carrie? I can't, you're very
sort of.
Hi,
Sorry.
Carrie.
Are you from
Hi.
Australia?
Hey, Kristen. Yes, I am.
I know you, Carrie.
You do. We met at the conference. Yeah.
Great.
So I'm kind of lurking in the background here. Sorry.
No, that's okay. It looks
Yeah, I have similar questions. Yeah, we're actually on holidays here, so I'm on this really lovely little island resort. And when you guys were online, I thought I'd take the chance to jump in. So, but we have the same sort of experience as Kristen will have because we're a smaller school and we're only probably 480 kids all told, and that's 3-year-olds through to 18-year-olds. So LibGuides might be out of the question for us. So maybe the hyperdocs and perhaps maybe a Weebly or a Wix or something like that. I was thinking of trying to get the kids to develop their own curation platform so that if they were using things from Britannica and some of the other databases that we've got, or they found interesting sites online, that they could have their own website or curation platform to keep it all there for them so they could take it with them year to year and add as they go along.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a very important point, Carrie. We're doing it for students right now. We're helping them see what it looks like when you gather the resources you need to do the work you need. But my hope is that our students will learn from that model and be able to curate their own playlists or resources, especially on a personal device, whether it's a
Yeah,
simple for the younger kiddos or, we've been using Pearl trees in our class. It makes it so easy when you can pull these things together and have them when you need them, rather than what was that? I don't remember what Carrie said, and then you've got it right
yeah,
there. So
absolutely. And we've just started using Britannica online with our kids and down as low as year one. And the teachers have started to set up their own content area for them, which is really great, because it means then when they've got their images, like through Image Quest, or maybe a particular article that the teachers wanted to read with them, that they can then start saving it as young as 6-year-olds in their own spot on the Britannica Online. So we're kind of starting quite early with getting them used to searching a database and the keywords, and then saving something so that they can look at it later, and starting curation quite young. So we'll see how it goes by the end of the year.
thank you, Carrie. That's great. And Britannica's Image Quest is a great image library that goes with, I think it's an add-on to the subscription, or at least it was last time I looked at it. Is that right?
I'm trying to
It
remember.
is, but it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
I was going to say, I think you're right. I think it is an add-on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And even,
But it's a great one too, because it teaches citation as well from an early age. So you're trying to get
Yes.
all those skills in there.
The other tool that I really like on Britannica School is the web's best sites. And we're always trying to get the kids to understand that somebody has to evaluate the site, and if there is no evaluation available, they have to evaluate it. And what I like about Britannica School, when you go look at any keyword, most of them will have websites that Britannica editors have reviewed. So I
Yep.
always tell them, if you go away from Britannica School, you've got this great tool here that your teacher will be really happy that you have used a site that has been evaluated by Britannica, a trusted source.
Yeah.
That has worked from 8th grade all the way up to seniors. They really like that tool.
Well, for me, it's going to be interesting because I've never really been a teacher librarian for kids above year 9. So next year, when I start that, it will be great to hear all your ideas and try and implement a few for the seniors. So, yeah.
Hopefully we can connect our students the way Kristen and I are.
That would be great.
We love to knock the walls down and connect.
Absolutely. I'm up for that. I'm sure they would be too.
My kids are so excited, Stony. It's just so fun. It's been such a fun experience for me, but they're really excited. So that's the most fun of all.
Well,
So what have you been doing with them?
Well, again, I'm thanking Joyce for connecting Kristen and I from Hong Kong when Joyce was speaking at a conference. I started getting all these follows on Twitter, and Kristen was one of them. So I was like, hey, it would really be cool if we could connect our students, and we kept going with it. She'd never used Flipgrid, so we started with Flipgrid, connected a teacher, and then the two of them just took off and started planning. It was just so exciting because I would see my the Flipgrid that I set up for them just blowing up at night, and they would be conversing back and forth, and I was just struggling to keep
kids involved now. It's fun. Yeah, they're doing. His grade 9s are doing a geography, sort of teaching my year 6 kids.
Right.
And we have groups set up, and you know what? I don't even get it all yet. It's such a learning curve for me, but it's just been amazing. Keith is like very knowledgeable, so he's just taken off and sort of taken over, which is great because I'm learning from him. So it's really cool.
Well, we're all learning from each other. That's what's so exciting about it. But the kids were in there today and starting to build all of their content to share with your students, and just seeing how our students had introduced themselves to yours, and your students, some of them had introduced through Flipgrid. So it's just changed everything, and I'm
We're
dragging it.
on holiday right now. We went on holiday on Friday, so we're off for 2 weeks. So I can't put more kids on right now. But when I get back, we'll get that sorted out.
Oh, gosh,
And we're
Hey, gang,
good and
this is so
onions
good.
and
This is so
Timbaloo
good, but
and
I have to be a bad guy.
Oh,
I have to pull us together for tonight because Eden is in our next class, and I promised I'd meet them and help them get their LibGuide started.
I
So
have to go too. But thank you for inviting us to this,
I'm
Joyce.
so glad you came. I'm going to share it with the other class.
Yeah.
I'm going to share it with the other class. And so as soon as I'm going to close up with you guys and stop the recording, and then I'm going to go help Eden with some of her questions and some of the other students from the other class are going to drop in. But let's do this again. I'm so glad the connections happened as a result of that conference.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
That was brilliant.
Bye,
Thank you,
Joyce.
guys.
Bye,
bye-bye.
Mary. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
It's so good to see you all
Bye.
again.
Good to see you.
All right. Bye. Thank you
Bye,
so much.
guys. Thank you.
Absolutely, it was fun.